Hello everyone, this is In-Game Art with another unboxing of the offline product game review. This is The Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel, the Decisive edition for the PlayStation 4, but being played and tested on my PlayStation 5. To jump right into it, this physical copy here just claims it's just a base vanilla version of the game, so the on-disc version is 1.0. Now at the time of this video, there were no updates available, and as well I was still unlocking trophies with my unregistered account. So this is the most updated physical copy of Trails of Cold Steel at current time of making this video. And as well, I do want to claim that all currently released DLC is on disc as well. So that's extremely nice to see. Now, the game does claim to be 1.0, but if you do not know, the game first released on PlayStation 3. So a lot of those updates are on the disc, as well as I said, the DLC is on the disc. So they're just reclaiming it to 1.0 because often I talk about this, publishers and developers, when they re-release a new physical copy, whether Game of the Year Edition, Complete Edition, Definitive Edition, or just a whole new release on the next console, sometimes they revert the number back to 1.0, even though the game technically is not, because it comes with a bunch of the updates and DLC content on the disc. But anyway, I'm really glad to see this physical copy of Trails of Cold Steel is the most updated and most all the DLC content on the disc, which is extremely nice to see. Now, you might be a little confused on how to access this DLC. Most of the majority of this DLC is accessible in your inventory. You gotta go to your items and then like open it up like it's an item, like a package and stuff like that. You get like clothing and item boosters and stuff like that. But for the most part, it is all on there and fully functional and beatable completely offline with an unregistered account. Now, I have covered this game actually 3 times now. I covered it first on PlayStation 4. This is my 3rd time playing the game. I first played it on PlayStation 3. I played it on PlayStation 4, this PS4 version, and now I'm playing the game again on my PlayStation 5, and it's still extremely fun. I fully enjoyed the game. It has its little hiccups and little oddities here and there. For it, again, it is technically a PlayStation 3 game on PS4, but it worked perfectly fine with a PlayStation 5, which is extremely nice to see. Now, there wasn't really any big bugs or issues. The only thing you're going to probably notice is that there is some pop-in where you like at a distance a random tree or an object or an enemy may just appear. That's the only really glaring thing. Now, I did have the game crash twice on me. Now, granted, both these times were just very random and just arbitrary. Just all of a sudden it crashed. I do put my console in rest mode and I just put it back up, start it back up and start playing it. Sometimes those putting your games in rest mode and restarting it back up can have some little hiccups to the game. So these 2 crashes could have easily not been from the game, but more the hardware just having some issues being in rest mode and starting up. So just keep those in mind, that those 2 crashes could be just completely not part of the game's problem, but just more just because of me putting the console in rest. Other than that, the rest of the game ran great perfectly. I really enjoyed the game. Now, granted, the weird thing is, I remember playing this game when it first came out on PlayStation 3, and I never realized how slow the game is if you play with the default setting. Thankfully, this PS4 version has turbo mode, where it's like nearly triples the speed of the game, and this makes the game feel so much faster and smoother. It might be a little too fast, considering that now it's running at 3 times faster, but if you play in the default setup speed, I never realized how slow this game is. Like, everything feels like it's moving in molasses. Everything's just so sluggish and slow. I cannot imagine trying to play this game without turning on turbo mode. And so I'm really, really glad that that mode is available. Now, the game plays like your typical JRPG, or like I like to refer to them as an anime RPG, because the game is a very anime-oriented. Anime assets and characters, kind of your anime tropes, and somewhat of your anime story. Like in this first one here, Trails of Cold Steel, the first game, it all takes place mostly at a school, which I'm a little burnt out on that subject and the anime stuff, where they all take place at a school. But overall, I still really enjoyed the setup they had going here with the characters, the story, the gameplay. It all feels really good. It is your classical turn-based RPG where you issue out commands and you have an active time bar where you slowly slot through between people who's going to go activate next, which is really fun to do. I really like the turn-based classic style where you don't have an active time bar. You have to immediately issue out your commands. You can do everything at your own pace and leisure. It's just how I like to play games. I'm not to say I don't like fast-paced hack and slashes or shoot 'em ups, because come on, I love boomer shooters. But I still love the classic, just take your time, issue out your commands, and issue out your orders, and then just let things progress from there. The only things I could say that is bad about Trails of Cold Steel is just certain design game point wise. First one is the oddity in voice acting. While I don't really have any problems with the English voice acting, I know some people, it seems, they have some massive hate for English voice acting. I've never have. I particularly generally love pretty much any English voice acting. The only difference is that the voice acting is inconsistent. 1 minute a cutscene will have voice acting, and the next minute it won't have voice acting. You could literally have a conversation with someone who have full voice acting, then immediately go to another character, and that character won't have voice acting. So you're thinking, oh, it's my turn now to read. It's a little inconsistent and a little frustrating in that area, and I don't know why they have certain moments where you would think there would be no voice acting, and there is voice acting, and in one serious moment, there is no voice acting. It's very inconsistent and very frustrating in that area. It can break up the flow of the game. The 1 minute you're listening, and the next minute, oh, now you're reading. That was probably my biggest gripe. The next one is that since you take part of the school, you do these kind of how do you say, school like travel things where you can go out with certain people in your school members, and you don't get to have your full party. The frustrating is that you get these items called quartz, and you got to equip them between the characters. At the beginning of the game, you're probably gonna have limited resources, so you're gonna have to be balancing between your quartz between each character and swapping between each character. It's very frustrating and annoying, and eventually you just start getting upset because you have your preset characters that you really like, and then you have to play off the characters you don't like, and you have to take all those quartz off those characters and use a character you're probably not the biggest fan of, or is not as useful as another character. It's tedious, like ultimately tedious to have to constantly balance out these cores. Now, eventually, near the end of the game, you have so much resources, you can just equip everyone with what you want them equipped with, but at the beginning of the game, it is very chory to have to unequip everybody with all these stuff because you have to use these particular characters. Next is leveling. This is another one. Now, when you're going your like school trip kind of thing, you have to bring characters you didn't have with you last time, and now their levels do not increase with the rest of your characters. So now this character that you probably not going to have too much interest is now low level compared to everyone else. I'm really tired of JRPGs having characters that not level up with you. I understand they're not in your party, but it's just you're already now putting that character at a worse position because now I'm not going to use that character, and now I'm not going to use that character even more because he's not leveled up like the rest of my team. It's just, that stuff needs to go away. Granted, this is an older game. Remember, it is a PlayStation 3 game, so it's got some of the tropiness of JRPGs and, again, anime and stuff like that. But that's one thing I would love to see go away, is that you have to keep everyone in your team members, and everyone does not level up with each other at the same time. And that's about it. That's the only real gripes I have with the game. Everything else was generally pretty good. The story was good. The characters were good. The gameplay was fun. I really enjoyed the turn-based action of the game. And I did like the customization of the quartz. And now, granted, there is maybe one big flaw, is that there is some clearly signs of characters being way better than other characters. The most party I generally preferred was Reen, which is the main character. Elliot, which is a character who's like your priest. He has a lot of healing powers, so he's a lot very beneficial on higher difficulties. And then you have Liara, which is your powerhouse. She can literally one-shot pretty much anything if you set her equipment and quartz just right. And then you have Fee, which is your speed demon, which she'll constantly get turns compared to the enemy. And there's just some things you can abuse, like there's a quartz they called Impede, where you can pretty much prevent computer from ever getting a turn, because every time you would hit the enemy, you can delay their turn, which there's some game-breaking mechanics you can do in this original one. I've played a little bit of the second one. I've never beaten the second one. I don't know what it is. Every time I start playing, I get pulled off of it, do something else, and I've only beaten the first one. Of all the Legend of Heroes and Trails of Cold Steel games, I've only played the first one, and I've played it 3 times, and every 3 times, I still enjoyed the game and story. And the game does have a New Game Plus mode. Now, I've been wanting to play the New Game Plus mode. I do believe that when you play New Game Plus, there is some added content. I'm not fully sure what all that is, like newer story, like certain interactions, but I've yet to sit down and play it because the game is a pretty lengthy game. You're talking about a 40 plus hour length JRPG. That's with me doing turbo mode, where I'm just speeding through the game because I've already I skipped some of the reading because I knew it. I know some of the voice acting and stuff like that, so I just kind of speed through it. I know the story. I know the characters. So it's still a very lengthy game if you want to try to 100% complete it and do all the stuff. But in the end, I'm really glad to see this physical copy work just fine on PlayStation 5. Now, granted, this PS4 version here is American version, and it was only available in this Decisive edition, which is now becoming quite expensive and rare. There is a PAL version, which just comes with the base physical copy without all the special knickknacks that come in the box. Now, I don't have that copy. I've been wanting to pick it up, but by my understanding, I've not seen anyone say that that is the inferior version of the game. So you might be able to pick up the PAL version and be able to save quite a bit of money instead of having to buy this American version, which is now becoming quite expensive. So I do recommend probably checking out that route. I'm sure it's completely the same as this American version. Updates on the disc, DLC on the disc, and the game probably works just completely offline, unregistered account, just fine. Now, I've been wanting to pick it up, but just I already have the game, so buying a second game twice for just a different region is not common for me, but I would like to pick it up at some point. In the end, I do recommend this game. Whether you get the American version or the PAL version, it's well worth it. And there's a sequel, and there's many other sequels, and there's many other universes and characters that continuation in the story. It is a big story. And there's even some games that we have yet to see new physical copies that are tied within just even the first game here, which I think is called Trails of the Sky, Open Skies or something like that. That was like prequels compared to the Trails of Cold Steel, which I'm really hoping we'll get new physical copies of those games, because if they're prequels, they're important to the story. So in the end, I'm really happy to have this physical copy. I do think if you're a fan of anime RPGs, or you're a fan of JRPGs, or you're a fan of classic RPGs, we do a lot of turn-based as well as equipment management, and then you abilities and maximizing your strategizations and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. Now, if you're not into that stuff, this is not going to change your opinion, but I enjoy those games, and I do think this is well worth to be on anybody's physical copy collection shelf. So like always, thank you all so much for watching. I will try to leave links down in the description if there is a copy. I probably will try to leave links to both the American version and the PAL version. But in the end, it's well worth to add it to your collection. I had a lot of fun, and I'm definitely very much wanting to sit down and play the second one here soon. So in the end, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next unboxing video. Bye-bye!